Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about the Microsoft Project Online Configuration Wizard. This is our brand new solution that we're just launching to the market. In fact, those that are watching this webinar are getting the first glimpse before anybody else does. We haven't sent any email blast about this. This is our first take. This is our promo show right now, if you will. So the whole premise is that we want you to be able to start managing your projects, tasks, and resources in 8 easy steps. So let me just take 5 seconds and just explain who we are for those that this may be your first time coming to one of our webinars. Let me introduce ourselves. So the name of the organization is Trusted IT Group. We are a Gold Microsoft Project and Portfolio Management Partner. You can think of us in these 3 key areas. The first one is thought leadership. We like to keep the project and portfolio management community educated and informed. You'll know that we are presenting at local, national, and international PMI conferences, as well as also presenting at local and national Microsoft conferences. And at the same time, we also have our approach called Project Management 365. And this is taking a look at the entire Microsoft 365 solutions and providing configurations and enhancements to drive project management capabilities. And then the last area to kind of remember us by is this crawl, walk, run approach. And this is really tied closely with this presentation today, is that there are different maturity levels in different organizations and they have different needs for their solutions. Some need to get up and running quickly, while others need a more long, robust mentorship approach. And for that, we have solutions that kind of fit all different areas from the crawl phase of your organization to walking and running. All right, so I will quickly go and explain some of the services that we have to offer, and I've highlighted the solution configuration enhancements because, again, this is what this webinar is going to be about. So from solution configuration and enhancements, that we provide quick start solutions such as this configuration wizard, as well as custom solutions to really help address whatever need your business has to offer. We also help out with reports and dashboards, integration as a service. We have our free and open source integration solution called 60i, which is available on our website. It's available through GitHub. You can just go simply download it yourself, and you'll be able to integrate any solution with Microsoft Project Online using the API calls. We also have our managed services, which is our unlimited 24/7 help desk support. We provide solution-based training, and we are also Microsoft Cloud Solution Provider, so that should you need additional licenses, we can help you out with that. The main difference is if you purchase it through Microsoft with your enterprise agreement, you'll be locked in for a year. You'll get a very heavily discounted rate. If you purchase Microsoft Cloud licenses through Trusted IT Group, we can still provide you a discount and provide it on a month-to-month basis instead of the 1-year-long commitment. Okay, so let's talk about the solution configurations and enhancements for just a second. So what we did was we wanted to define a very key section of this industry which was missing, and that's having accelerated solution deployments. Typical consulting companies would charge a heavy amount of money for a long engagement equipped with multiple months of requirements gathering, time and material, multiple months of configurations, multiple months of go live and post implementation support. We looked at this industry's trend, and while we still offer that same type of engagement, there was just a need. And the need was to fit this crawl, walk, run approach that not every organization out there needs this 8-month to 1-year type of an engagement with all the bells and whistles. The kind of trend within this industry is something of this lean methodology with the minimum viable product. Being able to get the bare bones that you need to kind of get up and running quickly, start to use the solution to the best of the ability, start to standardize your processes, and then, and only then, can you start to understand what the new requirements would be so that you can make this iterative changes and kind of adapt to new business requirements, or maybe business requirements that you've identified that you didn't think was at the very beginning of your defining stage. So when we're developing, and now I'm bringing you into a little bit of our development roadmap and some of the thought process behind the scenes of Trust IT Group, what we wanted to do is develop this deployments roadmap. Take a look at what does this industry need, what is currently out there, and let's define this. So some organizations may prefer to implement solutions quickly while making adjustments based on this lean methodology. So what we did was we created our MVP1, as they call it, minimum viable product 1, that we brought to the industry. And this was introduced a year ago at Q1 2017. This was our configuration wizard, our 5-day deployment that I noticed that some of the organizations that are on here actually did take advantage of this. So what this solution was all about is that we have a requirements document form that we would ask the customer to fill out. They would fill out this form, they would give it back to us, we would get on the phone with them, we would do a Skype session just like this. We would spend a 1-hour solution design workshop with all the key stakeholders, reviewing their documentation and everything that's included in that documentation so that we can understand what their process is like, how they filled it out, what the solution should look like, come up with best practices. And then we would take this back and we would perform the configurations. This would be guaranteed to be a 5-day return. Then we would get back on the phone. It would be a 1-hour solution acceptance workshop, and then there was then a 2-hour training workshop following this. So naturally what we did was we ran this MVP for a year. This is what we did from Q1 2017 up until today. And what we wanted to do was collect the feedback from customers and analyze the industry's trends for our solution deployment innovations. What we did then was we realized that while this was good and it was providing value, there was other areas that customers found value in. So then what we did was at the very end of Q2, if you've seen any of our mailing, at the very end of Q4 of 2017, which was just at the end of December, we did a rebranding. So we took away the name Configuration Wizard, and that Configuration Wizard turned into Configuration Framework. And then we also included Framework Plus. So the MVP2 included the Configuration Framework, which is the very same solution as the Configuration Wizard 5-day deployment MVP1 was. We just called it something different because we knew that we wanted to present we wanted the Configuration Wizard to be more of an automated process. So Configuration Frameworks was exactly the same. However, some customers, what they FIS wants the control. I'm sorry, I cannot give you the control. Maybe later. So what customers had asked for is, in addition to everything that we were doing, what they also want is Configuration Framework Plus. So a little bit longer of an on-site engagement. A little bit longer to help them come up with the requirements form. I mean, some organizations know exactly what the process is. They know exactly what their configurations are. They were able to fill out the document without any issues. We got back on the phone solution design. It worked like clockwork. Some had some more struggles with coming up with their process and matching that to that of that configuration within Project Online, even though that we presented with the framework in the document. So then we released Configuration Framework Plus, which includes a 5-day on-site workshop to help fill out this document, help come up with the solution design, and then we would still present the solution configuration within 5 days. So then you still get this really rapid deployment, then you get a 5-day training workshop. So all in all, this is a 15-day deployment, which is 3 times as long as the framework, which is a 5-day deployment. So this was good, and there was customers that definitely took advantage of that. And there was this other need that I alluded to. The other need was, well, what happens if a customer doesn't need us to do any of the configurations? What if they only wanted to know what's important for the project online environment, fill that out, and then just push a button and have everything completed for you? So that's when we came up with this MVP3, which includes the configuration framework, the framework plus, and then we reintroduced the configuration wizard as a do-it-yourself deployment. And that's what this webinar is going to be about, is talking about this configuration wizard deployment, which allows you to configure your own lookup tables and custom fields for project level, task level, and resource level entities. So just to give you an overview of our accelerated solution configuration options, we have our configuration wizard, we have our configuration framework, and then we have the framework plus. They all are fixed price, they all are quick accelerated solutions, and they all give you the ability to get up and running with Project Online really quickly without having to actually, spend a lot of time, spend a lot of money, understand where the gaps are for future business needs, and then you can kind of ask for more budget a little bit more efficiently because now you know what the needs are. So with that in mind, for the rest of the time, what we're going to be talking about is this Microsoft Project Online configuration wizard. So let's begin over here. So the configuration wizard addresses the very key need that quicker ROI is critical. Is that when you purchase your Project Online licenses and you know that you need to get up and running with a solution, you need to be able to realize this investment sooner. So we know that sometimes when you purchase licenses, there could be 8 months, 9 months. Sometimes we've seen organizations go a year and a half spending this licensing cost without actually using the solution. So being able to buy the licenses and get up and running quickly and have visibility into your project data, your task data, and your resource data is really important and is essential when you're trying to understand what the ROI for your PPM solution should be. So for this, what we decided to do is launch this Microsoft Project Online Configuration Wizard solution. Very simply put, this configuration wizard solution is a do-it-yourself web-based editor that has video guides and live chat support in this website. So you would be able to configure it yourself. You'd be able to log on to a website. And I'm going to show you this, and we're going to configure something together, and I'm going to show you how simple it could be. You can use your any browser, and we have video guides which are going to help you identify what's necessary in this specific step. So there's eight steps over here. And in case that those video guides don't actually address your specific need, we also included live chat support at no additional cost. That you'll be able to chat with a live representative, which is associated to our managed services over here, that you'll be able to ask specific questions on what is this lookup table supposed to do? What is this project level custom field supposed to do? Now, I understand that there is a chance that this webinar or the solution may get technical, and I'm going to try my very best to not get technical. I don't pride myself on being a solution architect or a consultant at any rate. Real just a sales and marketing guy over here. So if I can understand this, I think everybody else can too. So let's talk about how you can begin using this solution. So in order to begin, there's a couple prerequisites which need to happen. The first prerequisite is that you need to have a Microsoft Project Online subscription in your hands and active. And the way that this could be done, it could be done in a number of different ways. The first way is that you can reach out to your Microsoft account representative. In the Microsoft project world, they would be called Microsoft Project SSPs, solution provider, and solution sales provider, and they would be able to look into your organization. Most people in this webinar are associated to an organization that has a enterprise agreement. And you'd be able to purchase licenses for a very heavily discounted rate because you're purchasing them for a year in advance. Another way is that you can purchase the licenses through Trusted IT Group. Because we are a cloud solution provider, we can provide you a month-to-month subscription without any contract commitments, still at a discounted rate, more discounted than you would see it online. And the third option is you just go online and buy yourself a license. It's really that simple. You can go to Microsoft.com and purchase Project Online licenses right there. Common misconception is that you need to purchase an Office 365 license first and then Project Online. But that's not true. You can just simply go purchase Project Online subscriptions without having a Office 365 subscription. So you can go and set that up. Once you've done that, what you could do is you can assign a user the right subscription and admin permissions. So that's done as Office 365 Global Admin. They would just go into the user section and very simply put, you could just enable the license for the right user. And then you would just have to go onto www.configureprojectonline.com and you can go ahead and create an account that way. So one thing to note is that all of our video tutorials will have every step of the process documented. So if you don't know how to purchase subscriptions, there's a video guide for that. If you don't know how to assign a user with the right subscription, there's a video for that. And there's also a video on how to create an account. This is what the home screen would look like. And now using the solution, and I'm going to show you a live demo of what this looks like. This is just a screen grab, and what this solution provides is 8 steps where you can enter your own lookup tables. That's what the screen is showing you right there, the lookup tables. Now we're adding custom fields, and in step 6 we would add the task level custom fields, and then in step 7. I'm going back over here to step 7. We're adding the resource level custom fields. And then step 8 is when we can see the summary of all of our configurations, and we would press the execute button to go ahead and actually write these configurations to the Project Online environment. So if you've ever configured Project Online yourself, you know that you would have to kind of click in one screen, get out of it, click into another screen, get out of it, you know, that kind of tedious back and forth. Well, what we really tried to aim to do is make this a really simple user interface where you can see all of your configurations in on one page. You can save all your changes as you go, so that you don't specifically need to do everything all in one shot. So you can kind of do it on your own pace, right? You can have meetings upon meetings upon meetings internally to understand what's the user requirements, what's the use case for every different department that you want to use the Project Online solution, and you could just save things as you go. You can always go back to steps, you can go forward to the steps, you can save your changes, exit, come back in, all your changes are right there, and as you can see everything all in one screen before you execute it. It's kind of bringing everything together into one nicely typed package. So let's go ahead and start to talk about the demo that I'm going to be showing off. And in order for us to understand our configurations, we need to kind of have a use case discussion. And it's very important to kind of think about what the use case would be before you start configuring it. It's a waste of time and a waste of money to not understand your process before you go ahead and start the configurations. So what we recommend is define your use case clearly, make it simple, make a use case requirements document, discuss it internally, and that way when you're plotting your configurations using the wizard, you have everything right there in front of you. And again, you could use the live chat to kind of ask questions back and forth on that. So let's review what the 8 steps are, and then we'll flip over to what the use case would be. So the first step is obviously we're going to need to create an account and log in. The second is that we're going to need to pay for the configuration. The third step is that once you've created an account and you paid for the configuration, you would upload a logo. Your company logo would be fine. Then you would configure your lookup tables. You would configure project level fields. You would configure your task level fields, and you would configure your resource level fields. When you've done all that, you would review your configurations and push the execute button. So when we're discussing the use case is really for the configurations in step 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's discuss this. So the first use case configuration requirement is that we have an organization that has multiple resource roles, and projects and resources are spread across different locations. Okay. Then the organization has 3 different project sizes: small, medium, and large. So let's just talk about this for a second. So you have projects that you know that you're doing basically these 3 types of projects. When we're talking about this, use your own imagination and think about that some of these projects might be infrastructure project, software development project, IT move, desk move, corporate move, merger acquisition. There's a lot of different different types of projects, maybe project sizes. So for this particular requirement, we're going to have 3 different project sizes: small, medium, and large. The next use case requirement is that projects need to have the following attributes assigned: project location, project size, project lead, and project sponsor. So again, let's talk about this use case requirement. Basically, you need to know that whenever you have a project, you can quickly pull data on these particular attributes. And remember, whenever we're configuring the project online environment, or rather any PPM solution, it's not just project online specific. When you're configuring these environments, you need to think about the end first. It's kind of like Stephen Covey always talks about, think about the end in mind first. And what this means is, this is good that you have data in your solution, but the question is, what do your executives want to report on? This is one thing that we like to stress, is that reports and business intelligence solutions will only be as good as the data that you have within a solution. So if there's certain pieces of metrics or KPIs that you need to communicate project information on, then those need to be assigned as attributes of these different entities like project and task and resource. So going back to our use case, we're talking about the projects need to have the following attributes: project location, where is the project located, project size, what's the size of the project lead, who's going to be leading the project, and project sponsor, who's kind of the executive force behind it, maybe who's sponsoring this project. And then you'd be able to report on all these later on. So tasks, now we're talking about down to the schedule. Tasks need to have a location attribute, and we also need to know which type of tasks are a CapEx task. And the last of our very simple use case configuration requirement is that resources need to have the following attributes assigned: resource location, resource role, and also include external resource flag. So again, we need to understand which location is the resource in, which resource role, which role does the resource have, and also maybe we're working with a vendor or some sort of external resource, and we're going to need to assign a flag so we can easily look it up later. So let's just define what these specific lookup tables and what these different entities are all about. I kind of want to give you a little bit of an understanding about what these configurations should be all about before we go ahead and start to do the demo. So lookup tables. We recommend to consider using lookup tables for any custom field in which standardization of data is a very important factor. For our sample configuration use case, we're going to be building the following lookup tables. So for location, we're going to be using the United States, Canada, and India. I might write a different location in case I just don't remember it, so don't hold me to it. Size of the project, small, medium, and large. I should be able to remember that. Resource role, PM, architect, and analyst. This is what we're going to be configuring for the resource role. And our lookup tables. Again, remember, lookup tables are good when you want your organization or your team members or anyone that's going to be using a solution to only pick the certain things. This ensures that spelling is the same. This ensures that everyone is on the same page. It standardizes your process. Okay, moving on to step 5. Step 5 is when we talk about project level custom fields. Project level custom fields allow you to assign attributes or properties to your projects. So for example, in a use case configuration, we're going to configure the following project level custom fields. Again, for the location, we're going to leverage the lookup table that we created called work location. We're just going to associate that. I'm going to show you how all this is done in the solution. For project size, we're going to leverage the lookup table, size of project. Then for the project lead field, this is going to be a simple text field. And for a project sponsor, this is going to be a simple text field as well. So now for step 6, when we configure the task level custom fields, the task level custom fields allow you to assign attributes or properties to your tasks within your project schedules. Again, tasks are down at the schedule level. They're not up higher at the project, because remember, project is up at the top and then schedules are underneath the projects. Schedules are associated to projects. So we need to include a location, which is going to be part of our lookup table. So we need to know which location this task is going to be done. And then we're going to need a CapEx flag so that we can just really simply, check or uncheck this task if it's a CapEx project, if it's a CapEx tag or not. And lastly, we have resource level custom fields. When we talk about resource level custom fields, they are attributes or properties of resources, the people within your organization, the people that are going to be doing the work. So for our use case, we're going to be creating the following resource level custom fields. Location, which we're going to leverage our lookup table for work location. Resource role, we're going to be leveraging the lookup table for resource role. And then external resource, where we have a flag, we're going to be able to select someone as an external resource. So now we have nothing left to do but configure the environment. All right, so I'm going to switch out of this presentation mode. I have a quick configuration log. Here's my configuration log that I just that I did on the side, and this is what you can also do when you want to use the solution, right? You can kind of use Word, Excel, whatever you feel like using on your side, just to gather the requirements. And I'm just going to bring this over to my other screen so I can see it while I'm doing the configurations. And now let's go ahead into the actual solution. So what I want to show you is here's our project online environment. As you can see, this is a completely default. We just created this environment. We just spun it up, and this is our just a demo environment that we're going to use for this webinar. I just want to showcase. So when you go to server settings, this is where you would normally configure your custom fields and lookup tables. So if I go and click on custom fields and lookup tables, I guess what I want to do is just showcase to you is that when you configure your when you first spin up your project online environment, you do have some default fields. This is some of the default fields. There's a lot of other fields that are hidden. But I guess I just want to show you that you see that we created this earlier. This is created on January 11th, and there's no custom fields in here just yet. You see that we have the logo, the Microsoft project logo, and this is a very simple environment. No projects have been added. Let's click on the resources. No resource has been added. Okay. So now let's go to our configuration wizard. So configureprojectonline.com is the website, and you would start on step 1. And you would log in. So let me just explain. When you go ahead and log into the project, when you log into the configuration wizard, we're going to ask you to insert your Project Online URL. Your Project Online URL would be the entire website right after where it says sites and then the site name and right before the slash. So you can copy and paste all this information right into here. See, we have our live chat. Our live chat is running right now. And you would enter your work email and your password. And this is associated to your Office 365 Azure Active Directory. So this validates whether or not you have an active license, so that we would be able to use all this information, and this person that's going to be logging in should have the admin rights. Once you've successfully logged in, you click the next button, you would accept the terms, you would have to pay, you go on to next. I've already uploaded the logo, but step 3 is when you go ahead and upload the logo. You could save the changes anytime. So now we're going to go ahead and start at step 4. Step 4 is when we need to go ahead and add the lookup tables. So we would hit the plus button to go and open up the pop-up, and you could see that here we have couple different types of lookup tables. You can make a lookup table as text, cost, date, duration, number, but we're just going to use text. And the first of our lookup tables, we're going to do size of projects. And then I'll go ahead and enter some values. And I believe that we had small, and we had medium, and we had large. And that's it. And I'll just hit the save button. And I'll do that again for role. So let's go to add another lookup table. Let's do role. What did I have? PM. I had architect. And the last one I had analyst. And I'll hit save. And then the last one is I'm going to add another lookup table, again text, and I'm going to call this work location. And let's do United States, let's do Canada, and let's do India. And that's it. I'm going to hit save. You see, now we just configured our lookup tables. It's really that simple. I'll go ahead and save the changes, save successfully. And then let's go on to the next step. The next step is when we want to add the project level custom fields. So let's go ahead and begin this. So I'm going to hit the plus button, and we're going to enter our name. So the first one is I'm going to enter in project size. And we can add a description should we need to, and type. So type, we can have a cost type of project field, where it's a number, it's a cost value, maybe project cost, total cost, benefit cost, maybe those are the different types of examples. You can have date, maybe starting date could be a particular one, duration, how long do you anticipate this project to last, a flag, maybe you want to have a number, not a cost, but just a number, 1 through etc. But for this case, we're just going to call it text. And because this is going to be associated, project size should be associated to our lookup table like we were explaining in the requirements gathering, we're going to click the lookup table custom attribute. And this way I can go ahead and associate the lookup table to the particular custom field. You can determine whether this is a required field to fill out or not. We're just going to keep it simple. Excuse me, and we're going to say no. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the save button. And we're going to configure the other fields. So we also have project location. And again, this is a text. We're going to go to the lookup table and we'll go to work location. We'll just leverage that lookup table again. We'll hit save. And then we have project lead is another one. And we're just going to make this a simple text field, single line of text, because this is just very simply, I just want to enter somebody's name. I'll hit save. And the last configuration is going to be, what was it, project sponsor. Go ahead, text field, single line of text again, and I'll hit the save button. Okay, I'll save these changes, not necessary, but who knows, maybe we're going to end this session for the day, we're going to come back and we have another meeting 3 weeks later, right? This is sometimes how organizations like to, sometimes organizations move slow, so you can save your work and come back to it later. but this is a webinar and we have 20 minutes to finish. So task level custom fields. We'll go ahead and take a look at what some of these custom fields are. So the first one is that we wanted to enter the task location. And for this is going to be task one, and we're going to leverage our lookup table called work location. And we're going to save this. And then the next one is a little bit different. We have this as CapEx. And for this one, we're going to change our type to flag. And I'm going to show you what the differences is. So we'll go ahead and hit the save button. And there you go. Now we finish our task location and CapEx. I'll go ahead and hit the save button again. And let's click on to the next one, and let's configure our last step on step 7. Step 7 is the resources. So I'm going to make another field called resource role. And we're going to make this text again. But for this one, we're going to leverage our lookup table, and we're going to call this role. So we're going to leverage our role location. We're going to leverage our role lookup table for the resource role. Okay, we're going to hit the save button. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to add another one, and we're going to call this external resource, and we're going to make this a flag. Because again, we just want to basically check mark this either yes or no, and then maybe just pull up a report telling me, show me all the external resources. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit save, and then we're going to hit save changes, and then we're going to go to the next screen on step 8. And as you can see right here, all the configurations that we just inputted in the past 2 minutes or 3 minutes, it's all showing up on this particular screen right here. So let's say that, for example, you happen to do the project location, but you didn't add the lookup table of the work location. Sometimes things kind of get missed, but no worries, because this is all a drag and drop editor. So you could just simply pick up the work location and then drop this into the specific field that you want to. So for this case, we don't need to do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit the validate button. And the validate button is going to take a look at all of your configurations, and they're going to make sure that everything has the right characters, that everything can be configured properly, and that none of these configurations already exist in your project online environment, which is important because you don't want to duplicate the data. So let me go ahead and hit the validate button. And I hope that this works. We're going to go ahead and just give it a second. It's running through its validation check. And you can see right now that the configuration is valid. Perfect. So what we're going to do is hit the execute button. Please remember that when you hit the execute button, this action cannot be undone. So whatever configurations you have, they will be written. I mean, you can always go into the solution and delete it later, but we just want to let you know that once you hit the continue button, you've committed to this execution. So let's go ahead and just make sure that this execution gets written properly. When it sends, when the execution completes, what it's going to do is it's going to send you back an email of a configuration log and a receipt summary showing you all the configurations that have happened, and it's going to give you a log within your email of all the configurations. So that's it. So congratulations, we've just completed our configuration of our project online environment. We can now click on this link right here to go straight to the project online environment that we just configured. So let's click this, let's let it load up. And now you could see that we have this new Trusted IT Group logo that we just added to this project online environment. Let me go back to the server settings and let's just double check to make sure that these configurations are in the environment. We'll click on our lookup tables. And you can see right now that we just created a whole bunch of new configurations. So let's actually see where these configurations are living in the project online environment so we know what we're looking at. All right, so the first one is, let's go to projects. So to get started, obviously, we're going to need to go ahead and add a project. And again, this is default right here. This is a blank canvas. This is what happens when you purchase Project Online for the first time, and you need to go ahead and create a project. Now remember, there's no different project types or anything like this. That all needs to be configured. This could be done later. But what we're doing right now is we're just going to go click an enterprise project. So basic name, let's call this Configuration Wizard Webinar. And we don't need to worry about description, and we'll hit the finish button. So while this is processing and it's unloading, what I'm going to do is let me go back. Multitask, given the fact that we only have a couple minutes left in this webinar. And let's take a look at the resources for just a second. So I'll go load up the resources. And again, we don't have any resources, so you can do them through Active Directory. You can do the Active Directory sync. You can upload them through Excel. What we're going to do, I mean, we're just going to do it really simply. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new resource, just scratch right here. So the display name, I'll call this Daniel Test. And very simply, we'll just, see, and you would have these resource custom fields that we just created right here. So is this an external resource? Here's our flag, either yes or no. We could say yes. Resource role, let's say Dan is a PM. I'll click PM, and then I'll go ahead and hit the save button. So now we just added Dan Test as a resource manually, and you could see that in the default view, all resources view, you can see the custom fields that we just created: external resource, resource role, etc. Okay, so here's our resource configurations shown and proved that it works. We'll go back to our projects. Hopefully everything is uploaded by now. Okay, we have our project name, Configuration Wizard. Let me just scroll to the right, and you can see that some of these custom fields at the project level that we created, project lead, project sponsor, project size, and project location, can be viewed from the Project Center Summary Default tab. Let's go into the actual project. And let's just take a look at a couple different things. We could take a look at the project details. In the project details is where you would go ahead and enter this type of information. So project lead, let's call this Jason Test. And for project sponsor, let's call this Amit Test. And for project location, we'll put this in Canada. And project size, this is one of our large projects, and we'll hit save.